Hey everyone, it's Richard Solomon, and I wanted to bring you another installment in these PhD Chronicles. This is a bonus video, I'm not going to number this one. And I wanted to do it because I think there is some applicability of how we do research as it relates to this COVID 19 situation. I'm going to make this brief. On the 27th of February, I made a post on Facebook that's still there that indicated that we were on the verge of or already in a global pandemic. Several people responded indicating that I should point people to official institutions like the World Health Organization and others. I remember one poster indicating that I that the definition for a pandemic was very tight and Facebook opinions do not factor in. I found that very, very comical. And I thought I'd make a video as it relates to the PhD Chronicles because one of the things that you learn to do as you traverse the journey of a PhD is to do proper research. That may be primary, it may be secondary research. Primary being research you would go and conduct in the field for yourself. Secondary meaning you rely on the work of others. Those who would have already done research, you rely on their work. Obviously, when you do a PhD, part of the work that you do is to develop new information, new knowledge, discover new things, solve problems, etc. But you don't start from nothing. You start from the work that has already been done by someone else or by others. So out of necessity, you read papers, you look at what has been done before, what people have written, and so on. And this is where COVID-19 comes in. Now, on the 27th, I made that declaration based on my own research. This is secondary research, looking at papers, looking at publications and so on. And people say, well, how do you come to this conclusion? Well, one of the things that I remember being taught very clearly, and I have to give a shout out to Dr. E.J. John from the University of Trinidad and Tobago, you have to look at the sources. Who is saying what and for what reason? So if you look at a paper published in a journal, you should not just look at the paper itself and what it contains, its findings, etc. But you have to look at which sources did that paper cite? Who are the authors? Where do they come from? What do they do? What have they been doing? What are they involved in? Who funded the research? Do they have an agenda? Do the authors have biases that are undeclared? Because you can have biases, but you have to declare them. This is the work. This is how you go about coming up with and deciding, is this something I can rely on? Who is the publisher? Which journal is this? Is this journal worthy? Is this journal something that we can rely on, etc.? And so while the WHO, by the 27th of February, had not declared the COVID-19 global pandemic, one has to now ask, well, okay, what is the definition of a global pandemic? But you also have to ask, well, who's the researcher and who are we relying on? And if you do some digging, not very far, you will find, up to now, and this is only going to get worse, that the WHO has all kinds of questions to answer. As a matter of fact, right now, there are writers who have made links with good evidence between the WHO and China. Not only that, but we have also found, and I have found that there's a petition. I didn't write the petition, I didn't start it, with over 600,000 signatures, which indicate that the Director General of the WHO should resign because they found the WHO to be wanting. And so I wanted to make this bonus video. Now, I pray that most people recover. I pray that death is minimalized. However, had the WHO declared this a global pandemic earlier, quite possibly world leaders would have responded, more world leaders would have responded earlier, taken earlier action, more decisive action, and hopefully more people may have survived. As it is now, many world leaders are scrambling. If we look at the United States, some leaders in the United States back then were saying, look, this thing looks bad, we should begin to put in travel restrictions and so on. And I remember the Director General of the World Health Organization saying, no, this is not helpful, you shouldn't do it. What we should tell people to do is wash their hands, etc., etc. clearly, we realize that that was the wrong advice at that time. Now, the questions that are now being asked are, why would the World Health Organization delay in declaring this thing to be a global pandemic? Questions that are now being asked are, what is the relationship between the Director General of the World Health Organization and China? Questions are being asked about, who is this Director General? Where did he come from? Oh, he's an Ethiopian. What is the relationship between China and China's investments in Ethiopia? And the questions continue. So that from a PhD perspective, we have to rely on the work of others. We have to rely on other people and stand on their shoulders. But before we can just accept what someone says, we have to investigate the quality and the veracity of their work. And they themselves. And if you find that in looking at their work, their research, whomever they are, their structure, there are questions, you must ask questions and you must dig deeper until you have satisfied yourself that this source is reliable. And if the source proves itself to be unreliable or questionable, you must leave it out, because including it would cast a negative light on your own research. Yes? So when on the 11th of March, the Director General of the World Health Organization declared it a global pandemic. Yes? I remember the person who indicated that pandemic has a tight definition unfriended me, which is okay, I mean, it's not a big deal. It's unfortunate though. But the reality is, if you dig deep enough, you will see the truth, or at least you will recognize where there are questions, and you can ask further and even deeper questions. Education is not supposed to dumb you down. It is not supposed to put you in a state where you just accept what you are told. And this is one of the mistakes I have found. People just want to accept. It's easier, you see, to just accept what you are told, especially when it's coming from a body of the size and the repute of the World Health Organization. But here's the thing. These organizations are run by humans. Humans are fallible. Humans make errors. Humans deliberately make choices that are not in the best interest of humanity. This is true. No, I am not saying that the World Health Organization did or did not do that. But you cannot just say, well, okay, it's coming from this source, so therefore I must accept it. Everything with, as we say in Trinidad and Tobago, with a pinch of salt. In other words, you wonder, is this true? And if you find something to be misaligned, you must dig deeper. Many of us are intellectually lazy. We don't want to dig deeper. Dig deeper. Ask questions. Will you catch everything? No, you won't catch everything. Some things you'll miss. But the PhD is designed, if you look at its very name, that it's a search for knowledge, it's a search for wisdom. It is not meant to dumb you down and you get slow, intellectually lazy, unwilling to dig and to ask questions. It's the other way around. We'll always have more questions than we have answers. And therefore, there will always be new things that we can examine. Whenever you come upon a source, you ask all the questions. Who is this source? Where did they come from? Who wrote this? Who funded them? This is a critical question. Who gave them money to do this work? Do they have some kind of stake in this? Is it in their interest that this research comes out a particular way versus another way? You have to ask these questions, because if you don't, then you're not doing proper research. Then your work in itself will be questionable. And that's the price of admission right there. That's the price of admission. Yes? Too many times you find that people are parroting what they hear. We're parroting the narrative that we hear on the news and so on. Yes? We parrot something that we read, we saw a Facebook post, we parrot that. It's popular, it's the in thing. No. You have to ask the hard questions. In another video, I'm going to make another video, and this wouldn't be for PhD Chronicles, but another general video that I'll call it A Tale of Two Leaders, because we see what is emerging in the United States in terms of how number 45 and the governor of New York is handling this particular situation. This is Richard Solomon, PhD Chronicles. We continue. Wash your hands. Stay distant from other people. Isolate if you must. If you're not essential, isolate. And if you believe you are sick, you must contact the authorities and definitely quarantine. Get tested. Let's slow the spread of this thing, flatten out the curve so that we stand a fighting chance. And those who are most at risk will get the care that they need and a fighting chance to survive. Take best care.